Once you carry a backpack made from X-PAC, it's kind of hard not to get addicted. Ask any bag nerd about their first bag they ever got in X-PAC and you'll probably see their face light up. I remember my first experience with X-PAC when I got this Able Carry 13, like 6 years ago. I was just like, wow, this is like the real deal. But X-PAC's expensive. Like brands can charge anywhere from 50 to 100% more just for an X-PAC version of the same bag. Yet, the demand is higher than ever. X-PAC versions of bags are always the first to sell out. So I had to ask the question, what is it about this one fabric that makes the entire bag community collectively just lose its mind? And is X-PAC gonna be around to stay, or will it get supplanted by some better, more modern alternatives? I'm Aaron from Nomads Nation, and this is the insane history of X-PAC. All right, now before we get into any history, you gotta understand where this fabric actually comes from, what world it was forged in. And I choose that word carefully, forged. It's November 2020, Southern Indian Ocean, middle of the night. A French solo sailor named Kevin Esoffier, please forgive my pronunciation, but anyway, he's racing in a boat called the PRB. And the race he's doing is called the Vendée Globe. And if you've never heard of the Vendée Globe, it's basically the Mount Everest of ocean sailing. It's solo, it's nonstop, and it goes around the entire planet. No pit stops, no outside help. If something breaks, you fix it with a wrench, maybe a prayer, or you don't finish the race. He's sailing an Imoca 60. That's a 60-foot carbon fiber rocket that rides on hydrofoils. And these things can hit over 30 knots. So he is whipping through the ocean. He hits a wave hard. The carbon hull folds in on itself and snaps clean in half. The bow just points straight up at the sky. He has 2 minutes to pull on his survival suit, launch the life raft, and abandon ship before it sinks. This is at night, in a storm. 11 hours later, a rival skipper named Jean Lecam, he finds him, pulls alongside, and fishes him out of the water. That is the world that X-PAC was originally built for. The German-American company that makes X-PAC, Dimension Polyant, they've been making sails for that world since 1966. And they do a damn good job, because here's the craziest thing about X-PAC. It's that it really doesn't break. It can delaminate, it can look not as sexy over time, and it can get more sinewy, like these lines can certainly get more profound, but it don't break. And that's where the cult starts. But that alone doesn't explain why we're paying more. Dyneema is also durable. Cordura is also durable. So to find the answer, I had to go back even further. 1966, Kempen, Germany. In a tiny town near the Dutch border, a group of textile engineers has been weaving silk for like decades. Like literal silk, that's the whole business. But post-war Germany, there's not a lot of appetite for luxury silk anymore. The country was still rebuilding and Germany needed technical fabrics for that rebuilding process. Engineering materials, stuff that did the job. So the company pivoted. And out of all the jobs they could have picked, they picked one of the most unforgiving engineering problems on the planet: competitive yacht racing. Now, let's just take a second, a quick moment, to think about what a sail actually has to do. Hurricane force winds trying to just rip it in half. Salt water eating it from the outside in. Weeks of raw sunlight and UV turning it brittle. And worst of all, loads that shift diagonally every single time the wind changes angle, which on the open seas is all the time. Now, a regular textile or fabric or cloth will just get shredded, decimated in that environment. So these German engineers spent a couple of decades obsessively, and I mean obsessively, solving that problem. Layer after layer, lamination technique after lamination technique. 1974, they're cutting 2,000 square meters of sail for the German Gorkfock, the Navy's iconic tall ship. 1984, their custom windsurf laminate is at the Olympic Games. 1987, they're supplying Sailcloth to America's Cup, like the America's Cup, the most expensive and most competitive yacht race on the planet. And then meanwhile, across the Atlantic, a company called Dimension Sailcloth opens up shop in Putnam, Connecticut. So Dimension Sailcloth is doing the same game, just on a different side of the pond. They are laminating sails for the American racing scene. And then in 1991, It's when the magic happens. A merge occurs. The Germans and the Americans combine under one company, under the Versadag group. And yes, I know that I have now officially insulted the French and the Germans with my pronunciation of your guys' words. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best. And when that merge occurs, Dimension Polyant is officially born. And then within a few years, they become the largest sailcloth producer in the world, almost getting up to 37% of the market. And today, and this is wild, over 95% of all sailcloth comes out of one building in Putnam, Connecticut. Just one building. So for 60 years, these textile engineers really just focused on a single problem. How do we build a fabric that the ocean and the sun and all the elements cannot take down? But here's the crazy part. In all that time, they never set out to make a single backpack. These dudes are just making sailcloth for sailboats. The bag world will come knocking later. And when it did, the engineering was already done. The fabric was already bulletproof. We just didn't know it was good for backpacks yet. Hey guys, quick aside here. I've got a message for all the bag brand owners and founders and marketers out there, anybody who's in the bag world or the greater e-commerce world in general. You're watching this video probably learning a little bit about X-PAC, and there's probably X-PAC in your supply chain within your company in some capacity. And speaking of your supply chain and your logistics, I wanna tell you about someone that we've been working with at Firo, which is MSC, or Move Supply Chain. Move Supply Chain is built on the reality that most brands end up hitting a wall where you can't run all of your logistics and operations and freights and product orders and everything by yourself. You need help, and you need expert help. And that's exactly what Move Supply Chain does. They're basically fractional supply chain experts. You don't have to pay someone a full-time salary. They do it at half the cost, but with all the expertise. And what they do, and what they've done for us at Firo, is they step into the execution side of your business and they start working on things that actually move the needle for your business. It's been really interesting for Firo. Like, one thing they started with right away is they're holding our vendors accountable by creating KPIs, something that we never even thought about doing. But now our warehouse, our factory, our manufacturers, all across the board have very clear KPIs that we've communicated to them, which just elevated our relationship with them because they understand that we're serious, you know, and they get like, okay, yo, this is what Firo is expecting from us. They're also helping us with package optimization, order approval, booking freights, really just kind of like everything within the world of operations and logistics. And their skill set extends even further as they help with product sourcing, quality assurance, cash flow, scalability. They're just there for the whole ride. We are very picky about who we work with at Nomads Nation and with Firo. So partnering with Move Supply Chain was a no-brainer. So if you are looking for better visibility and better control over your operations, you should definitely get in touch with Move Supply Chain, which you can do with the first link in the description below or the first pinned comment. Back to the video. Okay, now here's where things are going to get elevated in the nerdery department. And I think you guys are gonna love this part, because I did. Before we get into X-PAC specifically, you gotta understand one key distinction about bag fabrics. Most of these fabrics you already know, Cordura, ballistic nylon, ripstop nylon, polyester. These are all woven fabrics, which means that the fibers go over and under in a grid-like pattern. Just like every piece of cloth you ever owned, your t-shirts, your jeans, your tote bags, they're all woven. X-PAC though, not woven. X-PAC is a laminate, which means 4 separate sheets get stacked on top of each other and then pressed together into one single sheet. There's a big old giant hot press, like just a hot glue sandwich. Here are the 4 layers, outside in.
Layer 1 is the external face fabric, and this face has a DWR finish, which stands for Durable Water Repellent Coating. It's this finish that makes raindrops just beat up and glide right off the fabric. Now, when it comes to the face fabric, you've got a few options.
There's VX7, VX21, VX42, and those numbers tell you what denier nylon is being used with the X-PAC. So for instance, you can see on this olive VX21, the 21 refers to a 210 denier nylon that's on the face of the fabric.
Next up is layer 2, the X-ply. The X-ply reinforcement is laid down at exactly 22 degrees. Here's why. On a racing sail, force does not come from one direction. The wind is changing angles constantly, which means the load on the fabric is always shifting around. A normal woven cloth with fibers running at 0 and 90 degrees physically cannot carry diagonal load. Force just finds the weak spot on this bias, a tiny nick propagates, and the whole sail shreds. In contrast, the 22-degree X-ply solves that problem. It distributes force against the diagonal, so a tear literally cannot run. It's structurally impossible.
And that's literally the X's, right? This diamond grid that you're seeing, that's the ply. And the ply is always significantly more visible from the back of the bag than it is on the front of the bag. But as you can see here, you can still see that diamond X-like grid on the front of the bag as well. Now for layer 3, this is the magic layer. It's a translucent polyester film with the X-ply reinforcement grid bonded into it. This is the layer that brings everything together and gives the X-PAC its signature feel and crunch. And finally, layer 4 is the woven backing. This layer is added to the back of the fabric to give it some structural integrity. It's gonna give the interior some better abrasion resistance and just improves the overall stitch holding.
So back to the X-ply, which is layer 2.
That's the part that sort of earns the cult. Because unlike some other bags that might use some sort of coating or maybe just like a DWR spray on the zippers, both of which can be very short-term solutions, with XPAC it's just different. There's a continuous polyester film layer sitting inside the fabric. VX1 is rated waterproof at over 200 PSI. For reference, a normal DWR spray on a standard bag lasts around 12 washing cycles. But XPAC's waterproofing is structural. It lasts as long as the fabric does. And here's the part where everything just kind of ties together. That Dimension Polyant factory in Putnam, Connecticut, 55,000 square foot of machinery, around 40 full-time employees. Well, that building is laminating cloth for sailboats for America's Cup. And it's also laminating cloth for your next Air or Peak Design or Evergoods bag. Like somewhere in Connecticut this week, it's all done in the same building with the same machines. Nothing is outsourced, which probably speaks to their quality and why they have such a big market share. Okay, now how do we get from racing sails to your everyday carry or travel bag? Well, let me tell you, in 2008, a wildlife photographer named Andy Biggs co-founded a camera bag company. And that company is called Gura Gear. And wildlife photography, in case you don't know, can be absolutely brutal on your gear, right? You're really exposed to the elements. So Andy goes on a mission to find the lightest and toughest fabric that he can. Somehow he finds Dimension Polyant, he calls them up, he licenses VX21, and he builds the Gura Gear Kiboko. And in doing so, they become the first bag brand to use XPAC in a wide bag production. Patient Zero, 2008, that's the origin story. And then the nerds kind of started talking to the nerds, as us nerds typically do. And from there, the word just spread like wildfire. Air picked it up. Their XPAC collection is a permanent line now. Tom Bin wrote an entire blog post about why they were so excited to add XPAC to their roster. Alpaca, Evergoods, Boundary Supply, Topo Designs, Coda Bell, and more every single year. And as supply increased, demand was like outpacing it. As to where we are now, with all these bag micro brands, they kind of all have to offer XPAC. Or whenever they make that jump into a secondary fabric, they gotta go with what the people want. The people want XPAC. But I still think that at this point, XPAC was only just getting started, because in 2024, the biggest brand yet introduced XPAC to their lineup. And for me, this is where the cult kind of went fully mainstream. It's now August 20th, 2024, and Peak Design launches the Coyote XPAC VX21 Ocean Edition. Now listen, if you're not into the bag world, let me tell you why this is a huge deal. Peak Design is one of the biggest and most successful backpack brands on the planet. They have raised literally hundreds of millions of dollars on Kickstarter. They're at every airport camera store, and they are religious about making their own fabrics in-house. Proprietary weaves, custom blends, in-house built hardware. It's a part of their brand identity, which is why it was so crazy when they just said, XPAC? Yeah, let's do it. They kind of had to because of the demand. But of course, in Peak Design fashion, they still made it exclusive, as that Coyote tan colorway is exclusively licensed to Peak Design, so you can't get that exact color anywhere else. XPAC called this program one of the largest they've ever launched. And on top of it, in 2024, it was the company's best year of sales for XPAC fabric in general. And the Ocean Edition won a top 10 award at ISPO Munich. And if you don't know what ISPO is, it's basically the Oscars of technical fabrics. So, verdict time. Is the cult justified? I think it is. But while things are looking good for XPAC, the truth is there's a couple of new kids on the block that are challenging the XPAC throne. One of which are these guys. Challenge Sailcloth, and they make this fabric, Ultra. Ultra is really proven to be quite a competitor to XPAC. And you can see just how technical a fabric like this is. Obviously taking some inspiration from X-PAC, and obviously being another Sailcloth company, this Ultra fabric has just been taking over in the backpack world. Same thing with Dyneema. And honestly, I think we're just scraping the surface of what's gonna happen, because again, we have just that whole supply-demand ratio. The demand for X-PAC keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up, so it's allowing new innovative brands to kind of take their stab at technical backpack fabrics that may or may not also be for Sailcloth. And because of that, like being a consumer in the world of bags right now, it doesn't suck. Overall, X-PAC has just changed the world of bags. It's not a perfect fabric, it's not for everyone, but if you're looking for a bag that can do it all, I'm talking about weather resistance, abrasion resistance, a little bit of structure to give it some really nice self-standing, plus a killer professional look and just an overall technical feel, like X-PAC is just really hard to beat. Now, if you are in the market for a bag, whether in X-PAC or a different fabric, you should definitely check out this video where myself and the rest of the Nomads Nation team, we pick our favorite bags in different bag categories so you can see what the best options are on the market. If you got any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aaron, this is Nomads Nation, and we'll catch you next time.